Imagine saving hundreds of lives in a war zone only to come home and be told you were never there. Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. Today let's talk about Kristin Hannah's The Women. Published by St. Martin's Press in 2024, The Women is a historical fiction novel. The novel follows Frankie McGrath, a 20-year-old nursing student from a conservative, privileged family on Coronado Island, California. After her beloved brother Finney, a golden boy who embodied family's military legacy, shipped out to Vietnam, she impulsively joined the army to follow him. The narrative spans over 2 decades, beginning in 1966. The book is divided into 2 halves. The first half tracks Frankie's transformation from a naive woman into a hardened and skilled surgical nurse. Amidst the gore-drenched hospital wards, buzzing officers' clubs, and constant mortar attack of the wartime Vietnam. The second half of the book follows her devastating readjustment to civilian life. Upon returning home, she is met with family indifference, public hostility, and a severe lack of recognition. She is told there is no women in Vietnam, leading into a spiral of PTSD, alcoholism, and addiction. The novel's engine is entirely Frankie. Initially, she is depicted as intelligent but sheltered young woman, desperate to find a purpose beyond becoming a socialite, which her wealthy parents expected. Her decision to enlist is partly fueled by a desire to be a hero and to maintain a connection to her brother. Over 2 years of service, she matures into a competent, life-saving professional, but returns home a fractured individual, battling undiagnosed depression and moral ambiguity. A recurring criticism of the novel is that the secondary characters functioned more as a plot devices than fully developed individual. Frankie's dismissive, chauvinistic father and tight-lipped, pill-popping mother, her fellow nurses, and her various love interests lack the 3-dimensional depth found in the protagonist. There are 3 major themes that I can see from this novel. The first is discovering one's purpose. Frankie rejects prescribed 1960s role of wife, mother, finding meaning and fulfillment in the chaos of operating room. Her profession as a nurse becomes her calling and the core of her identity. The second theme is that of patriarchy and female subjectivity. The novel devastatingly portrays how patriarchal society ignores women's contributions. Frankie and her fellow nurses performed heroically, equal to men on the battlefield, but are treated as if they were never there. And the third theme is shame, pride, and moral ambiguity. The book critiques binary notion of morality. Frankie feels proud in her personal impact, but shame about the war's unjust nature. She struggles to reconcile the heroism of the soldiers with cruelty of the conflict and her own post-war action. Alcoholism, affair, exist in a moral grey area, suggesting that embracing ambiguity is necessary for healing. Frankie enters the war believing in a clear-cut narrative. America is fighting communism, her brother is a hero, she can be one too by saving lives. In Vietnam, she quickly confronts the contradiction, proud in immediate impact. In the operating room, she pulls shattered soldiers back from death. She performs emergency procedures under fire. This work is real, tangible, and good. She feels a sense of mastery, purpose, and identity she would never have acquired as a life of socialite. And at the same time, she feels shame in larger context. She also sees the war's futility and horror up close. Helicopters bring in Vietnam children with burns, Soldiers with no clear objectives die. The hospitals is overrun with casualties from a conflict that seems endless and senseless. Frankie cannot reconcile pride in saving one's life with shame of participating in a machinery of distraction and creates so many casualties. The result is cognitive dissonance. She begins to ask, am I a healer or an enabler of war? Does my small good excuses the war's evil? This is the collapse of the binary morality. The novel, The Women, rejects both. Frankie cannot be slotted into either side. Not a pure hero, she saves lives, but she also drinks heavily, has affairs with married men, and moreover, by serving, she legitimizes a war she increasingly doubts. Neither was she a pure victim. She chose to go. She had privilege and agency. She is not a passive sufferer. The novel insists that most real-life moral experiences are muddy, not clean. Frankie's fellow nurses and soldiers are neither saints nor monsters. They are ordinary people doing extraordinary and terrible things in impossible circumstances. The second part deals with post-war struggles from certainty to ambiguity, and this part of the novel slows down dramatically. The first part is really action-packed. There's a memorable scene where the lover of Frankie flown away in a chopper, and that chopper is being shot at by the Vietnam soldiers. That part is incredibly memorable, as some of the other parts where she was operating on soldiers that was dying, their intestines is overflowing onto the floor. Those are very graphical descriptions of injury details, and it read like a very fast-paced, action-packed novel. The second half, however, dealing with the readjustment into civilian life, is dramatically slows the novel down. So the second part is also the most psychological, acute section of this novel, occurring after Frankie returns home. She is expected to know what she feels, either to be a proud veteran or a repentant anti-war protester. Instead, she feels both and neither. Public shame contrasted with private pride. The anti-war movement splits on her. Her family refuses to acknowledge her service. She internalizes a message. What I did was shameful. But secretly, she still dreams of the nurse she was, competent, brave, essential. She cannot erase that pride. And also, she was dealing with guilt without clear cause. She suffers from what trauma expert called moral injury, the deep distress that results from actions or inaction that violates one's core moral value. But what exactly did she violate? She saved lives, yet she feels culpable. The ambiguity is unbearable. Her subsequent alcoholism and promiscuity are not merely coping mechanism. They are an expression of moral confusion. She drinks to quiet the questions that she cannot answer. Am I a good person? She sleeps with unavailable men because she feels unworthy of clean love. Her self-destruction is her unconscious attempt to punish herself for a crime she cannot name. The last part of the novel deals with healing and acceptance of ambiguity. The novel's therapeutic arc suggests that Frankie's recovery does not come from finally deciding that the war was good or bad, or that she was hero or victim. Instead, healing arrives when she learns to hold contradictions without resolution. Let's talk about the strength of this novel as well as the weakness. Overall, this is a beautiful novel. The novel's visceral, impressive prose, the gore-drenched scene in operating rooms, such as Frankie performing an emergency, let me get this word right, tracheotomy. I'll put that here, tracheotomy. Basically involving cutting someone's throat so that he or she can breathe. During a mortar attack. These scenes are intensely vivid and gripping. Hannah's ability to evoke emotion is unbelievable. There are, however, some weaknesses. The first weakness is that the plot is easily predictable. The second, it is too long. It really is too long, and that's a perennial complaints for readers of big books. Perhaps the most controversial part of this novel deals with historical accuracy. The novel repeatedly depicts Frankie being spat on by anti-war protesters upon return home. However, academic historians and veteran organizations have long debunked this as myth. Overall, I think this is a work of love and take perhaps years of research to produce something this amazing, this brilliant. The book is absolutely fantastic. I would give it 5-star any time of the day, and I truly believe if you read this book, not only will you enjoy this action-packed first half and beautifully written second half, you will learn some historical negligence and appreciate the political landscape at the time and use that to understand the current political climate a little bit better. Overall, I 100% recommend this book to anyone. That's the end of this review, guys. If you liked it, please give it a thumb up, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. And I shall bring quality contents just like this one to wherever you are. Until next time, guys, cheerio.